X-Pac, 1, 2, 3, 60.
A new day is dawning for DX.
And now, your hosts, Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac, 1, 2, 3, 60, everyone. I was going to open the show by wishing everyone a Happy New Year, but it's kind of hard when I wake up this morning and go to my phone, and the first thing I see is that we lost Mean Gene Okerlund. So, yeah. Shit.
I know.
So, wow. Hey, so you guys have some stuff. I mean, I know I grew up on Mean Gene, like,
Same.
you know, and he was around way before I ever saw my first wrestling match.
Sure.
But like, so, you know, and I know like the things he's done, but you want to share a couple of tidbits, like some of this?
Well, first of all, I guess we should say
history.
that he passed away at the age of 76.
Yeah.
The reason for his death hasn't been actually given, but of course, you know, the WWE, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, Triple H, and so many more people have gone on and tweeted about, you know, a tribute to him. Triple H called him a voice and soundtrack to an entire era of our industry. He was in the AWA from 1970 till 1984. That is 14 years.
Yeah.
He was in the WWF, WWE for 9 years, and then WCW 93, and then back to 2001 in WWE, and then of course he is a Hall of Famer inducted in 2006.
Yeah. Like legit the greatest.
Yes.
And like Paul said, like Triple H said, the voice of the soundtrack of our childhoods, not just like, I mean, wow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I might tweet, I put, you know, as far as runs go, he had a great one, and he really did. And I'm going to be honest with you, I thought he was a little older than 76.
He was one of those guys that just always looked older than he was, I think.
He can't, like, because there was, yes, and it's the bald head thing. You know, the bald head, like with the hair on the side thing. You know,
Yeah.
it makes you look old, like Vern Gagne. You know, I think he came out the chute looking old like that. Like, I mean, Vern.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at his youngest looked old, like with the, you know, the male pattern baldness going on. Anyways, so yeah, I just thought that. You know, I always thought Mean Gene had that look of an, older gentleman.
He was a very mature-looking gentleman.
Exactly, that's how you want to put it.
Distinguished.
Yeah, so I got to see him mostly when he jumped from, you know, in the big exodus from AWA. Mm-hmm. You know, when Vince went in there and cherry-picked talent from AWA. It was Mean Gene. It was obviously Hulk. Mm-hmm. Vince took Mad Dog Vachon, too, just for good measure, even though he didn't really use him. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, Mean Gene was, I think, like probably one of the bigger hits that took, you know, that Vern took. When he lost talent, that was one of the big hits he took, and I remember, okay, see, because I grew up, you know, partly in Minnesota when I was like my very, very first wrestling exposure was on TV when I was a little child in Minnesota, and so that was AWA. And so like I would have saw him there, but I was so young. So my first exposure is the WWF stuff, and I moved to Minneapolis. What I was trying to say is I moved to Minneapolis from Florida, and I don't know if you ever saw this thing where Mean Gene, he did this thing where he teamed with Hulk. They had this whole vignette.
The workout videos.
Yeah.
Yes, I was just watching those this morning.
Yes, that was done at Lake Calhoun down in the uptown area of Minneapolis, and they filmed part of the workout at the old Olympia gym on Lyndale Avenue that I used to go to. We had a ring upstairs there for a while at Olympia gym. Anyways, just like memorable stuff like that. You know, Mean Gene, you know, he's
Running in those
jogging,
red
and then he's like,
shorts.
stop, you know, I got to have a beer and a brat, you know, in the middle of his workout, and just, you know, I mean, goddamn, everyone loved Mean Gene.
Kurt Angle really said it so well here in his tweet. He said, very seldom does an interviewer become just as popular and at times even more popular than superstars he or she interviews.
Yeah.
Gene Okerlund was that person. And part of it was his sense of humor.
Yeah.
Was to have a sense of humor and deliver it in dry fashion like Mean Gene did,
Yeah.
very hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
And
you know, he had a really, like, he had a real comical way of dealing, like, because he was great at his job, but not everyone he interviewed was great at talking. And I was one of them. You know, hey, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Like, you want to play that real quick?
Yeah, let me cue this up real quick.
face-to-face time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think I would, like, anyways. Yeah. So,
Here we go.
yeah.
Here is a young man who has taken the Big Apple by storm. He is exciting, electrifying, he is modest, he is humble. And I'll tell you what, sometimes a little nervous in front of a television camera. Kid, out on Long Island, you've got Bastion Burger. This guy's 400 pounds.
Yeah, he's a big guy, Mean Gene. I know that. He's 400 pounds. He's mean. He's disgusting. So I think I'll have to take it to there on this one. I got to just throw all caution to the wind, and we'll see what happens.
All right, you know, you've got a lot of fans in a big hurry. You've developed a great following here in New York. You know, those fans are going to be out there to support you.
Oh, they're the best fans in the world, Mean Gene.
All right. Here's a breath of fresh air today. The kid is going to be out on Long Island less than 2 weeks from now.
To me, what really shows how great Mean Gene is, it's not necessarily when things are going well, it's when things go haywire. And
Yeah.
Mean Gene always kept it together.
Yeah.
You know?
Or, like, he just, you know, I'm thinking of this we were live on Nitro. Well, not we, because I wasn't out there, thank God. Mean Gene had to interview, in-ring interview, live on TV with Juventud Guerrera. And he spoke even less English back then. He's actually not bad at it now. He can talk, but it was just so comical. Like I don't think it's too, you know, we can't just pull the clip up here, but I encourage people to go look that up because it was really funny. At the time, actually, it kind of got hot at Mean Gene for clowning on Hoovy, but I don't know what, like, thinking back on it, I don't know what the hell he was supposed to do.
They put him in a bad situation.
Yeah.
Both of them, really.
Yeah, so.
I remember one of my favorite Mean Gene moments, probably because he was in such a bad situation, but he made the most of it, was the gobbledygooker reveal when the egg cracked at Survivor Series. It made no sense whatsoever, but Gene really held it together when he cracked out. And he's like, "Wait, don't tell me you're the gobbledygooker," and everyone's watching like, "Who? What?"
Yeah.
But he made it work, and he always made things work, and he was a huge inspiration for me. I mean, when I found out I was gonna get my first job in wrestling, I went back and watched old Mean Gene stuff, and he'll never be replicated. No one can do conversational interviews like Mean Gene can. He has follow-up questions. You don't see that anymore.
There's a really good, if you go on YouTube, and they never played this. It was like a backstage promo for a town. I think it was San Francisco. Matter of fact, I'm almost positive it was San Francisco. You know, local. Well, they called back then market-specific promos.
Right. Yeah.
We would sit and do, like, you know, because we would have to do, I don't know, sometimes 30, 40 of these, because we'd have 30 or 40 different markets we were coming up to. So we'd have to knock out market-specific promos. And so, you know, there was one time in I don't know. I don't know if it was AWA or I think it was WWF back at that point. Mean Gene interviewing Dr. D. David Schultz about Hogan. And just, I'm not going to go into the subject matter, but all I'm saying is go look that one up, folks.
Yeah, that one comes up pretty early when you look on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find it.
There's a great one with Iron Sheik as well.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that, like, you know, we're trying to get this point across about how memorable he was, how unique he was. But, like, even just everybody has a specific story that they automatically jump back for. I remember the first time I saw him do his interview with Andre the Giant where they're comparing hands and they're comparing feet. And I remember seeing that, and I was, you know, young, and I was like, wow, like, that is incredible. But he showed that to people. And going back to what Johnny said, is that that's the thing that every interviewer has tried to pattern themselves or study the pattern of Mean Gene, and you know,
People can't do it.
exactly, but that's because it was a one of a kind thing.
Yeah. You know who else had great chemistry, and they didn't get to work together until the late 90s? Well, at least on TV for everyone to see was Nature Boy Ric Flair and Mean Gene. Whenever Nate would get out there on one of those in rings with Mean Gene, he always started off with Mean Gene.
Didn't he always say he called him Mean by God Gene? I think.
Sorry, sometimes. Yeah, I mean it was so distinct. That was when I did the thing imitating Rick. That was how I started the whole thing off. Well, that's how he started off. That, anyways.
I mean, those are two of the all-time greats. You put them together, magic's going to happen.
Yeah.
And just Mean Gene could carry an interview even when no one. I remember when Macho Man. Speaking of Ric Flair, when the photos surfaced of Ric Flair and Miss Elizabeth, and Mean Gene went to Macho Man's house and had a sit-down interview with him. 75% of it was Mean Gene talking to a distraught, infuriated Macho Man, coaxing him, and then all Macho Man did was scream "untrue" like 5 times.
Yeah.
That was Mean Gene, man. Like that's how great he was, and he transcended wrestling and went into pop culture. How many people do you hear say over the years or do an interview? Let me tell you something, Mean Gene.
I think it was about 2 months ago. The last person I heard say, "Let me tell you something, Mean Gene," was Kevin Hart, and I can't remember what commercial that was, but
we played the promo on the air.
Right.
Remember?
Yeah. So I mean, that just goes to show you how in 2018 he's still in the minds of people.
Of all time.
Yeah.
So we had the benefit of sitting next to him at WrestleCon this year, Sean.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was a hell of an experience to spend a weekend with the man. He was in amazing spirits.
Yeah. It was, and so the last time, well, I just saw Mean Gene. I just saw Gene. Did I see him in? I think I saw him at Blizzard Brawl. Oh shit, my memory that goddamn bad.
Sometime this year.
Yeah, but okay. Before that, a bunch of us spent some time together in northern Minnesota. There's a promotion called Heavy on Wrestling, and they're out of Duluth, Minnesota, and they had this huge show at this casino called Fortune Bay, and it was so great. That everyone came. Scott and Kev and I were there. Eric Bischoff, Mean Gene. Pat Patterson came. Larry the Axe Henning and his lovely wife Irene were there. They drove straight up from the Waterloo, Iowa, from the wrestling hall. The Dan Gable, they have the Dan Gable Museum, wrestling thing every year, and they give out awards and everything. Anyways, Larry the Axe. He was there, so it was just a really cool. I'm really grateful for that weekend with those guys because it was a wonderful weekend. My children were there with me.
Those opportunities don't come every day.
Yeah, and I thank Dave Sabick from Heavy on Wrestling for putting that together and getting us all together up there. It was a really special thing, so. And
with everyone's schedules, that's not easy to do for sure. But, yeah, Mean Gene, I just want to thank him because, God, there's
Jesus Christ,
anyone like him.
Was Mean Gene there? Now I'm like, oh shit, was Mean Gene there? Or was it at WrestleCon during WrestleMania that we were all together?
Either way, you saw him recently.
Oh God damn it! Now I'm like, oh.
It's going to be bugging you now until you figure it out.
I'm sure you saw him at WrestleCon for sure.
Oh, again, yeah, because
that's a guarantee.
Donna got the picture.
Right. So either way, you loved him, and he was just he was the greatest of all time, and he set the pedestal. Anyone who's ever done interviews before or held a microphone in professional wrestling, you set the bar, and we're all just trying to get there. So
now I'm all worried about, was Gene at that thing up there in Fortune Bay? Oh shit. Yes, he was there.
There you go.
Even if he wasn't, he was there.
Yes.
He was there with you in your heart.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So.
Love you, Mean Gene.
Yes, we do.
Gonna miss that guy.
Unfortunately, someone else that you also are a huge fan of, Super Dave Osborne.
Well, I just saw that his name popped up, and it made me think of old thoughts. And yeah, Super Dave Osborne, Bob Einstein.
Bob Einstein.
Yeah, Yeah, he was other stuff too, and I'm not going to spend too much time on Super Dave, but look him up. And the first time I ever saw him was as a really young child. He was a part of a sketch comedy show out of Canada called Bizarre. That was just a fantastic show, and I think the head of that show is this guy named John Biner. I mean, they had some great stuff on that show. Anyways, that's the first time I ever saw Super Dave, and rest in peace.
Genius character for sure.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna take a break real quick, and then we're gonna come back. We're gonna reset and come back and talk about some of the other news, because there's plenty of other news.
So much over the past couple of weeks. It's been a crazy end of the year / start to 2000.
Yeah. So like last night, I was thinking, about calling, who's going to be a guest, and I'm like, oh crap, another week where we have a lot of news to talk about, and so, and then obviously woke up and found out about Gene. So, yeah, we're gonna take a break right now, and we're gonna come right back and get into news. And we're back from that short break, and now we're going to get into some of the news stories in wrestling, because there are plenty of them, aren't there, Denise?
There is. There's tons. But we're going to go ahead and get started with what happened on Smackdown, which was a very fun, unique, different, maybe unexpected segment that happened between John Cena and Becky Lynch.
Yes.
So John Cena came out and basically said that some man was going to come through. Well, that some man ended up being Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch's music comes out in place. And then she basically says, I was not only planning on taking down Charlotte Flair, I was also planning on taking you down. And then she hit him with this line. She said that Nikki Bella will not be the only woman who drops you this year.
Yeah.
That's what she said. And I don't know. I just thought it was pretty interesting. And then they went into a mixed match challenge with, match with Zelina Vega and Andrade Cien Almas.
Yeah.
And then after that, they did get a victory. And then from there, John Cena tried shaking Becky's hand, but she basically did the "you can't see me" taunt.
Yes, very well done.
Yep.
And shit, I had a thought right here, and it was about ready to come out of my mouth.
Well, I'll say this.
And then I had a brain fart.
Man Family
It'll come back to me.
a few weeks ago that we're going to give you more of what you want. Well, people want Becky Lynch, and they're giving it.
So anyway, on the house shows, on the live events, leading up to this week's TVs, there was an in-ring confrontation between Becky and John. I don't know if you saw any of that. So there was some,
Practice round.
they had some interaction in front of the crowd already to work some of that stuff out. And I thought it was interesting when John first came out and on the mic before Becky came out, he kind of, you might think he kind of took the ammo away from whoever came out, by saying, how did he put it? A line of, somebody just using a line about Nikki Bella on him and all. Did you remember that when he said that?
Right.
And I was like, oh wow. So now it's and I knew it was going to be Becky because I saw the, stuff from the weekend.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so I was like, oh, that's kind of. I was thinking, wow, John's taking all trying to cut her grass before she even gets out there. And I thought she did great.
It still worked.
Yes. No, it worked even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just everything there. It just seems like they're doing all the right things with her. And
She's got
even if they might be, maybe misstepping here and there, she's correcting it on her own. Out there.
Well, she's such.
I don't know if you know if you understand what I'm saying.
No, I do. She's such an intelligent woman. She knows what she wants her end game to be, and that's the important thing about wrestling. What's your end game? How do we get there? And it's almost like, I don't want to say vigilante, but I think that's how she looks at herself.
Yeah.
Every time she goes out there.
And so I saw a tweet and it was a good point. It was Dave LaGreca from Busted Open. Mm-hmm. He was like, is this going to be Becky jumping the shark? You know what I mean? Like, and because you can risk by trying to give somebody a rub like that. You got to be careful on how you give
Too much.
Becky Lynch the John Cena rub.
Right.
Because that could, to Dave LaGreca's point, like kind of jump the shark, in a way. And I thought they handled it great. I thought the match was I thought the way the match was laid out was really smart. I thought how it ended, I thought with Becky shit cannon John out of the ring before getting the pin, perfect. And then the finish, the last interaction where he tries to shake her hand and, she does
Yeah, it worked a lot better than if they would have held hands together. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. There was some serious risk going into that, and they avoided the things that were risky about it.
Well, that's the thing, that had you told me a year ago that there was going to be something like this between Cena and Becky Lynch, I would have been like, oh, that's weird. I don't know how that's going to work. Yeah. But then it's kind of like those things where it mixed pretty well, where it almost feels very refreshing.
Yes.
And that's something that you want to see on TV, is something that's refreshing, something that's new, and, kind of gets you excited for that. And one of the things that you were saying earlier when you said, she goes out there, and even though maybe she hadn't been handled exactly well, she went out there and she fixed it. And I think that brings up the argument of where, we've talked a lot in the past about scripted and not being non-scripted and that sort of thing. But the thing is, even if you're scripted, if you have that thing that Becky Lynch has from what we just saw, that it can go well even if you are scripted.
You
that
gotta
makes
be
any
able
sense
to
at
think
all.
on your feet, though.
Exactly. Make it work for you.
Yeah.
All the intangibles.
Because it's really difficult, when you have nerves and all that, when you're in front of, 20,000, 10,000, even a small crowd of 10 can be even more nerve-wracking. To be able to think quickly on your feet like that and not just, default to the script, to the written dialogue.
And I think you could speak to this too. Your self-confidence.
Yeah.
Your everything you do is so much better when you're feeling confident about yourself, and you can tell her confidence is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, switching gears now. So speaking about working in front of large crowds or small crowds, this time New Japan has just announced that Wrestle Kingdom 13 has surpassed the paid attendance for last year's Tokyo Dome show. Over 34,995 people, and there will still be tons of walk-ups. Of course, Wrestle Kingdom 13 is on January 4th, which is this Friday.
Yeah.
And they have lots of good matches announced that we've known for quite a while, but the main ones obviously are Kenny Omega will be taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. That should be awesome.
All right, let's talk about that.
All right, let's get into it.
And did you read that there was a contract signing with about 150,000 people watching live from Shibuya, which is that's one of the big districts in Tokyo,
Amazing.
And they estimated about 100, because there was 1 million people in Shibuya, and apparently about 150,000 people were on hand just for the contract signing.
And Kenny also
That's a big deal.
That's a huge deal. And Kenny also released a 6-minute video game style promotion for it versus him and Tanahashi. It's like an 8-bit video game style to where it almost looks like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. It's genius.
Yeah, and I want to know why they couldn't play that at the at Wrestle Kingdom, because that's what that video was made for.
Right. And he said, I apologize, but it's on YouTube. Enjoy.
I'm guessing maybe New Japan wanted to own the content, something like that, some intellectual property conflict.
Maybe they didn't want to air anything they didn't make themselves.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this question, I feel like for this match, it's going to be very interesting in terms of the end results.
Yeah.
And, so they recently did, I think it was last month, where in Tokyo, they announced the winners of who they think is the most influential person, and Hiroshi Tanahashi was actually number 1. And it goes to show that, considering that he's just seen so above everybody else over there that it's really grand. So it makes you wonder, even though here we're oh yeah, Kenny is this great, oh my God, but over there it's still Hiroshi. So it's almost who do you think is gonna win?
By quite a bit.
Right,
actually.
exactly. So it's who's gonna win? Kenny hasn't held the belt very long just yet. He still wants to do something. His reign still hasn't been compared to Okada's reign. It's nowhere near his reign just yet. So I know a lot of people think that Hiroshi Tanahashi should win this and get another round with the title. I personally think that Kenny should still keep it and keep going, but I feel that both arguments are pretty
They
valid.
both kind of need it.
Exactly.
And
they
that's
both
what
need
makes
it.
this so great.
Yes.
And I see this, and especially, when you look at that video, what was the name of that little video?
Kenny's
thing?
Quest?
Yeah. When you look at that, if you don't know much about this whole thing, it kind of explains a lot. Like, this is a generational thing, right? Like the father loves Tanahashi, and the little kid's a Kenny Omega fan, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about here, I think. And I really love the style of shit talking those two did, back and forth with each other about styles and just the philosophies of wrestling and I just it's fascinating to me how they and the way they talk about wrestling and styles, and my style's better than your style, and I love that. I fucking love that.
And it was such a stark contrast between the Jericho shit talking and Naito. Like, that's what's so entertaining about all of it.
Yeah.
It's really good stuff.
Well, speaking also, Jericho will be taking on Naito for the IWGP ICE title. And I want to say that this one's going to be interesting because, we've seen them go at it before. But
is there any kind of stipulations? Because
No,
one last
I don't
one, a
think
no
so, no.
DQ?
Was it? Yeah, I think it
How
was.
the hell
yeah.
do you go from no
that's what
DQ
I'm
to just a
saying.
regular match?
They got to work. They got to come up with something new,
Shit.
because they have already gone at it before. So now they kind of have to switch it up. So now it's going to be like, okay, so how are they going to make this
And where is it going to be on the card? You know what I
second
mean?
to last, I believe.
I would assume so. I think you're right. Yeah.
And okay, yeah, and so with no, without the help of, no DQ, that was a huge help for them, and for when Chris was on the show and talking about that, wasn't that not too long after that?
Yeah, we had him maybe
Yeah.
a few months afterwards. Maybe
I
not.
think it was even
sooner,
closer.
a few weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he discussed the difficulties and the challenges with putting that match together, and so and trust me, they're gonna pull it off.
Oh, yeah.
It's just how they're gonna do it, and like sitting there and watching them actually do it's gonna be fascinating. Because trust me when I tell you that Jericho will do it.
What do you think?
With with Naito. I mean, not like takes two to tango.
In your
Cliche,
opinion,
but it's for a reason.
How much time do you think that match is going to go?
Half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just they're into them long ass matches. They settle down for the long haul on those matches over there. I'm a like personal taste wise, I like my matches a little shorter, but I still
Kenny and Tanahashi are probably going to go
hour and change.
Well, speaking about when Jericho was on the show, I was just kind of remembering back to what he said and sort of the philosophies of what goes into putting the match together. And one of the things that he talked about, which I thought was brilliant, because you don't really at least I don't really think about that, but he said one of the things that I wanted to bring out in Naito was the fact that he has this very tranquilo style, but I want to bring out this madman out of him, sort of deal.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of okay, how is that? They told such a good, interesting story in that match. So now I'm pretty excited on how they're gonna do this one. But knowing that they went to that level of depth of thought of how those two characters contrasted with each other, it's pretty interesting to see what they're gonna do for this round.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just, having that, having to, not a lot to work with, when you already have that no DQ thing.
But like you said, it's Jericho. I mean, I know
it's
Marcus
gonna do
Stroll's
it.
the villain, but Jericho as a villain, whew, doesn't get much better.
All right, what else?
All right. Then another match that's huge as well is going to be Okada versus Jay White. And I personally think that this one's pretty cool because, they're working up to be Jay White to be one of the top heels. So I think that it's a very, very good moment for Jay White.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not there's no title involved.
Nope.
Yeah. It seems like one of those situations where Okada is, maybe they're looking for Okada to help elevate Jay White, and I think he's
He's definitely the person to do so. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Rainmaker versus Switchblade.
Yeah, is Jay ready for it?
Judging by what we've seen, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Well,
Kind of has to be.
yeah, I was gonna say ready or not. The thing is that he's in the ring with Okada, so like he's gonna help him get to this, high point of the match. So I feel that, he already has like so much, skill, and he has so much character that now with having Okada carry him, like that's going to be a good match. So it's not like he's like in the ring with somebody that's not going to take him to this new level. So if anything, it's going to be like awesome.
I wonder, like, as far as like, as far as on a scale 1 to 10, as far as what people care about match wise, I wonder how this is,
I think as the fans are so intrigued by Jay White, I think this is up there.
Okay.
Although we talked about what's kicking off the show, didn't you?
Yes, I was going to say, one of the matches that I'm personally very excited for, other than the main event, is Kota Ibushi versus Will Ospreay. And that's kicking off the match. Kicking off the show, excuse me. Yeah. So I just think that this match is going to be like, from the start, just bam, bam, hit, hit. We know what both of these guys can do. And, Kenny Omega said that when he's in the ring with Ibushi, like they get to this whole other level of crazy that, sometimes he doesn't want to always get to that level of crazy because Kota tends to get to that point. So we know he already gets to this point, and we've seen what Will Ospreay can also do. So now throw those in together, like that's insane. Like it's insane.
Has there been a singles match between these two ever?
I'm gonna say off the top of my head, I don't recall, but I could be wrong though.
I think this is one of the. I think maybe, for me, Tanahashi and Kenny Omega, Jericho, Naito, Ibushi, and Ospreay. Those are the ones, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, for sure.
Those are the three big ones.
It's understandable. Ibushi and Ospreay, they're just so different.
And there's gonna be great matches, other great stuff like obviously on the show, the Bucks versus the Gorillas of Destiny, all that, and all those guys are going to go out there and kill it.
Yes, they will.
But as far as the ones that I'm really stick out to me are those three we're talking about.
And they have a challenge too because they're going after Kota and Will Ospreay. So you don't want to be the person that's like not,
I'm happy to see New Japan trying new things as far as how they pace their shows because in the past they wouldn't have put Ospreay and Ibushi on first because in some people's minds and a lot of wrestlers' minds, if they're on first, that's like a big like somehow they're on lower on the card. No, not at all. I remember WrestleMania 11, the Intercontinental title match it either kicked the show up or it was like one of the very first matches. It was Razor and Double J and Road Dogg and I were on the floor, but it was one of the very first matches on the show.
Nuts,
yeah.
There's excitement.
They do. Those are good. Like WWE knows how to pace the show, and they have their they have their way of doing it, and some people could learn a thing or two from WWE when it comes to pacing shows.
And I think, in your opinion, with Ibushi and Ospreay, they don't need a ton of time to have an incredible match. So therefore, if it's kicking off the show, it's kind of the perfect way to do it, right?
Yeah. Hey, what I was saying about pacing shows, that like WWE, before they started doing like all day, like WrestleFest 12-hour goddamn,
pre-shows.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Not sitting there in the crowd from like 1 to like 11.
Yeah, we can't sleep on Cody and Juice either.
Hey, going to a WWE a major pay-per-view now. If you're there for the whole thing, it's like sitting in Times Square for New Year's Eve,
dude,
all goddamn day.
Dehydrated by the end of it.
F that. I'm looking at that and I'm like, what about that is fun to those people? Especially in the rain the other night.
Oh, everyone I ever know who's gone to Times Square, they pee themselves. So that's all.
Oh yeah, and also I just wanted to say, our executive producer Maria Menounos killed it with Steve Harvey on Fox.
They're a good combo.
New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Speaking of great mustaches, Steve Harvey.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? There's any bodybuilding, like old school bodybuilding fans out there. Ed Corney passed away. Ed Corney, if you're a fan of Pumping Iron, like there's a part in where they're doing the prejudging on the posing, and Arnold's there, and Ed Corney's up there doing his posing, and Arnold's like, "No, that's posing." Oh wow. And he really was the greatest poser in bodybuilding history, and amazing physique, and he was great up until the very even he was in when they had Masters Olympia, he was killing it there too. Anyways, rest in peace, Ed Corney. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
anyways, I don't know. I just slipped that in.
No worries. We still have a lot of things have been happening. So about maybe 20, 30 minutes ago before starting this show, the NWA tweeted that they and Ring of Honor have announced that they are partnering on the Crockett Cup Tag Team Tournament, which will be coming to North Carolina on April 27th.
Oh,
so
great.
Just side note on that.
Hey, so did you ever watch any of the Crockett Cups? Were you? I mean, how are you that age?
Not currently when it was airing, but I went back and checked things out.
Yeah, I loved the whole idea of Crockett Cup because we still Crockett hadn't completely gobbled up all the other territories, or if they had, they were still those territories were still operating separately, UWF. You know what I mean? Like Watts' UWF, when Crockett bought them, they still had UWF for a while.
Sure.
Things like that. Anyways, the Crockett Cups were great because they would bring in teams from all different territories. Some you hadn't seen in a while, and they'd have the Armstrongs, the Fabulous Ones, you name it, from different places. Mm-hmm. It was so cool.
And they can do that now. We got to believe the Briscoes are going to be involved. But
yes.
The thing about the NWA, what's so great is, it's going to be Ring of Honor affiliated. I don't know if Ring of Honor is going to be super strict and said you only have to use Ring of Honor teams.
I doubt it.
I hope not, because that makes no sense. Then it's just...
Well, then they wouldn't have enough, most likely.
That, and there are so many great tag teams that have the freedom to go wherever they want right now, and you can put together an assortment of tag teams that no one has seen together before, and that could be awesome. Yeah. So hopefully they do that, because there's so many good teams.
I'm wondering if this can be a one day or a 2 day thing.
Well, they just have that 1 day announced, so as of right now, let's just take it as that. But another thing that we have, so this actually happened.
Oh, yeah, can I just, let me real quick. One of the things that I remember about the I think it was the last Crockett Cup, I think there was only 2. Mm-hmm. I want to say there was only 2.
I believe it started 33 years ago.
But I just remember in the back of my head holding hope out that the Mulkeys would win. Because the Mulkeys, they had gotten their win on TV against, I think it was called the Gladiators, maybe. It was like Gene Ligon and somebody else. Anyways, I somehow thought the goddamn Monkey Brothers had a chance. And I was kind of half in wrestling already.
Right.
One
thing's for sure, leading up to the Crockett Cup, the promotion's going to be amazing because you're going to have David Lagana and Lightning One behind it. So those video packages are really going to get people hyped up too. So that's great stuff.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So one of the things that also happened while when we were on break, the news broke that Impact Wrestling will be leaving Pop TV and will be moving on to the Pursuit TV starting January 11th. They do have a new day and time slot, 10 p.m. on Friday nights. Some people, obviously Impact has said that, this is a good move for them considering their audiences.
To say?
But
this is kind of a shitty move, but we're making it anyways.
Collateral at best.
Yeah. Not very much of the country has a channel. I know Johnny said Comcast doesn't have the channel or something like that.
It's not on Comcast. From what I've done a little bit of research, it's in 1/3 less of homes than Pop TV was.
Which didn't have the greatest clearance either already.
Did not, unfortunately. But I do believe if you have Dish Network or DirecTV, you can find the Pursuit channel. It's a all outdoor hunting and fishing channel. But Anthem has a really good stake in the network, so I guess I
understand that. Yeah. I understand that, and you want to spin any move you make as a company, and into the most positive, way possible. And
in March of
hunting it's hunting and fishing. Look, a huge portion of wrestling quite a big portion of wrestling fans love hunting and fishing. Quite a big percentage of them don't. You know, so I don't know. I don't know about this. About this.
I'm reading an article about it, and the person who wrote it said they contacted Comcast this week to ask if they were going to add Pursuit Channel, and Comcast said that they don't have any plans to add Pursuit at this time. But Ed Nordholm, he says it's a great move for them. You know, there is that already financial investment, so it's kind of like deal with outside networks, I guess. So
I mean, I remember when what was it? Travel Channel they went to?
Destination America.
Yeah, I was like thinking
about 5 months.
How's
That was
how's that
before
gonna
Pop
work?
TV, right?
Isn't this
Yeah,
like a similar?
obviously.
Isn't this a similar feel to like a wrestling show on a network about traveling, a network about hunting and fishing?
Like outdoorsy.
You know?
And it's always like it's a
Is it
channel
going
that
to
I
be one
just
of
heard
those
of.
things like ECW on Sci-Fi? So are we going to have a goddamn zombie on the show? Like, are we going to have a hunting and fishing character on Impact now?
Makes you good. Yeah, that's a good.
Jesus Christ, that was a joke, by the way. So nobody take that seriously.
Eli Drake's turkey trot.
Because the last time somebody was joking about someone in TNA, they made a joke about, why don't we just have every goddamn match in a cage during what do you call that, lockdown? And Dixie was like, oh, that's a great idea.
And you were there for some of it, so yeah.
Well,
Son of a bitch.
well,
All right.
hopefully it only goes up from here for Impact. Honestly.
I hope so, because they have
Honestly.
great talent.
Yes.
They really
There's
do.
so many things. There's so many things about Impact that they're doing right, and I hope, like me, like not being high on this move doesn't take away from the fact that I see them and I see them out there, you know, trying to put out and doing a really good job of putting out a good product.
Oh, totally. Look, if you're a wrestling fan, you should be rooting for Impact
Yes.
and Pursuit. You want people to have
Yes.
jobs. You want them to thrive. I mean, the
So
roster,
maybe this can I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
not at all. I'm just saying the roster's so talented. And what I like about Impact, and this is coming from, you know, my friends who work for the company, and they said the good thing about Impact is they really do give you that freedom to be creative and be yourself and create some of your, you know, whether it's a promo or whether it's things in the ring.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, in professional wrestling, the greatest things are always created by the wrestlers themselves. You can have all the writers in the world. The magic is created by you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The content is good, and they were one of the companies that, you know, really started working with other companies and establishing that and giving more guys opportunities.
Yeah.
And I don't think that should go unnoticed. And I do want to mention that
How
they
do
do
they
have.
not? How I just don't understand how. And right now, like wrestling, it doesn't seem like that hard of a sell.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
It seems like they have better numbers on Twitch than they would on this network, because they have a bit of a Twitch presence, and that has.
What do you mean a bit? Give me an example of numbers.
The last time I saw it was a stream in the middle of the day that was showing reruns that had a couple of hundred people watching it. But if they put enough behind it, they can get a lot more. I think they did great over.
Yeah, but like total views for a show.
And
like,
their
what are they
YouTube
doing? Are they doing a couple 100,000 at least, or no?
That I need to double check. But I just bring up Twitch as a way of you can reach a lot more people that way.
Well,
Yeah,
their YouTube has over 2 million subscribers right now. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and those are all indicators that there's something there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it's just perception-wise, it would help them if they had a better TV network. That's all I'm saying.
And it could lead to something down the road. Let's hope maybe this could just be a stopgap that leads to something else. But yeah, we want it to succeed for sure. So January 11th.
And then just a reminder that this Sunday they do have their pay-per-view Homecoming. They will be returning to Nashville at the Asylum, and so don't miss that, because I know it's going to be a good show. They've been having good shows consistently, so definitely want to watch that.
So we were talking about this off air, and I've said this in the past at times before Billy Corgan tried to buy TNA and all of that. I was like, you know, I just think the brand is too tainted. You know, I thought that at the time. I don't know. I just think they're having a hard time completely washing that stink off. I think they're doing an admirable job of it, but they still got a little, they're still a little bit behind the ears,
It's unfortunate because the people now have nothing to do with what happened in the past.
Nothing.
But that's
but they're clinging on to that lineage though. So I mean, I don't know. It kind of comes with it, I guess.
Well, I hope people just kind of let that go
I
and
hope so,
realize
too.
that there is
Nothing
good
but the
people.
best. Nothing but the best to Impact.
Yeah, and hopefully they come up with a way for those who don't have pursuit to be able to still
Yes.
follow closely, because
Yeah.
the company and the wrestlers deserve that to be seen.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Well, one of the biggest news stories so far of this year just broke on New Year's Day, actually, and it was the announcement of All Elite Wrestling. It was announced by being the Elite channel, YouTube channel, on their episode New Year's Elite. We've been talking about this. Speculations have been going around since November when certain trademarks were filed, and it is official now. All Elite Wrestling is happening, and they have also announced Double or Nothing, which is the sequel to All In.
Yes.
There's so much news to go down through this, but I'm just going to go ahead and start with basically what we have. So what we know is definitely Tony Khan is the head of the company.
Yes.
Cody Rhodes is an executive vice president. They have been signing guys to multi-year contracts. We still don't know everybody that has been signed, haven't been announced. January 8th, they're going to be having a Double or Nothing rally at the TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville, Florida, with more info being released.
And the fun thing about that is that's where Smackdown is that night. But Tony Khan owns that parking lot, so they can't kick him out.
And big and foremost, I guess the biggest news of this whole thing is
I
that
think they have more money too. Like right,
Yeah.
Khan is worth $6.3 billion.
like real 6.3, hard 6.3,
Legit.
not bullshit. Like
No.
I can't. I'm not gonna let you check my tax returns.
and he's been following wrestling for years, so guy knows
Yeah.
what he's doing,
He
know?
gets it, and he's trusting his talent.
Yeah.
Yes.
So one of the things that also makes this even bigger news is that even though they currently do not have a TV deal, it has been confirmed that multiple TV offers have been made to them.
So doesn't that then that's a head scratcher for me. Like multiple TV offers for them, but Impact can't.
They were impressed with All In. They were
Yeah.
impressed. The TV execs were impressed
Yeah.
with everything that they did on that show.
All Elite is the beautiful woman right now that everyone wants to date.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, so one minor, and I don't know if it's a concern or if it's just the way it is. Like, does it lose some of that punk rock feel? No.
I don't.
You
think
know what
so.
I mean? You understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. It's
The
more
do-it-yourself-
corporate now,
the
I guess you
do
can
it
say.
yourself. We got to get behind this, but I hope that people still I hope that the enthusiasm stays because everyone complained. Oh, we need another major player in the industry. So please support it. Don't all of a sudden. Oh, it's not the cool thing because everyone else is getting to see it too.
Well, I think because Cody is named as a person in the boardroom, I think that will keep everybody going. Well, at least somebody is going to be keeping it on course.
Not to mention the Bucks
And
as
the
well.
boss, yeah. So
Yeah.
everybody having a position of power on there, I don't think will taint how it looks to the fans.
Taint.
But, yeah, but
That was so juvenile
It
on
was
me
classic.
just now.
But I don't think it will. I think it will affect the punk rockness, but having people in the boardroom will keep that goodwill. I think.
And it's not like their senses of humor are going to change. So they're always going to have that quirkiness about them. And
I guess what I'm saying is it's not as much of an underdog when you got billions behind you.
that's true.
And
Maybe
that's
it's
all.
the story development, though, of all of this is
Yeah.
I think what the fans have behind, here were these guys, they were doing the rounds like everybody
Yes.
does. Then all of a sudden they do this show and they break all these numbers. And then bam, next thing you know, they're creating a show. So there's a whole story there.
There is, and it's not like, okay, we're just going to start this company from and just all of a sudden here it is. There is this history, and there is all this,
Every one of them.
all this work that
Every one of them was told no at many points
Yeah.
in their career. They bet on themselves. I mean, look at Scorpio Sky, 15-year overnight success.
Yeah.
I mean, he almost quit a couple of years ago. and look at him now.
So I'm glad that you mentioned this, and I also think that, Sean, you can add to this, is Dave Meltzer said that this is the greatest thing for talent since the WWE WCW wars.
That's
considering, right. I mean, for example, Bandito, the WWE made him an offer, All Elite Wrestling made him an offer, and he ended up going with Ring of Honor because they obviously also made him an offer. So basically what they're saying is that this is good for talent, whereas before, maybe obviously the big places to go to were only WWE. And if you got lucky, you went to Impact. If you got lucky, you went to Ring of Honor, wherever. But now there's another option. But see, and also, there's bigger money. People are going to throw more money at you because they want to be the first person to get said person, example, Bandito. So now one of the other things that I wanted to add to this, though, is that this is a pro for those guys that are trying to find a home and trying to make a living.
Yes.
However, this also is an effect on indie promotions as well. If you think about it, you have PWG, we have Defy, we have AAW, Northeast Wrestling. All of these places now, when they bring in talent and they do good, for example, they bring in somebody new to PWG and they do really well, they have this great match, bam, right away, someone's going to be watching them and they're going to want to take them right away. So that's one of the things that is going to be very interesting on how all of this plays out in 2019.
And that's and now you see everyone okay, headlines, okay, Davey Boy Smith Jr. signs with MLW. So-and-so signs with Impact. So-and-so this. So, everyone's staking claim and grabbing the, okay, we're gobbling up the guys that we want, specifically,
it's so intriguing
on our team.
To see that now WWE may actually have to be in bidding wars, which is...
It's good.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing for everyone involved. It gives more hope to everyone. So.
And then also, if there's, it's also one of the things that I wanted to add for this is it's actually one of the people that I think are going to be thriving. And we were just talking about them, which is the Impact guys.
Yes.
I think that they're going to be some of the ones that thrive within the indies because they're able to, still take that work, especially depending on whether or not some of the guys that have exclusive contracts will still be able to work in the indies.
Hey, are MLW and Impact guys, are they kind of working, both shows, some of those guys? Or is Conan doing that?
Conan is definitely on MLW because he got shanked by Low-Key this past week.
Yeah, but isn't he on Impact as well?
He has been.
Yeah.
So I guess it all depends individually. I think Conan is just at that level where he can kind of write his own ticket.
He is.
Yeah. So hopefully that looked really scary, by the way.
And another question that we have to ask as well is, will All Elite Wrestling be working alongside New Japan? Will they be still somewhat having some sort of relationship with Ring of Honor? We don't know yet. That's all up in the air. Another question is, will Kenny Omega be eventually leaving New Japan and join All Elite Wrestling, or will he stay with New Japan? There's just so many questions right now.
He ain't leaving New Japan.
You think so?
I don't think so.
WWE wants him too, so you don't.
Not yet. He's not even close to done doing what he has to do there.
I agree.
You're probably right. I'm interested to see how big the roster is going to be for All Elite Wrestling when it comes down to whenever television does indeed happen. How big will it be? Hour episode, 2-hour episode. There's so many questions that we'll find out eventually. So.
And was there a date attached to Double or Nothing yet, or is that going to be?
Not yet. It was just the rally date, which was January 8th.
Which we'll probably find out.
I really wish they would go back to Chicago on that. They have their own ideas, though. So.
Either way, it's going to work out. I think they proved themselves.
Yeah.
Everything they touched.
And one thing I got to say about All Elite Wrestling, is so many people in the industry that are sure they know how it's done are all jumping in and I see, so-and-so's advice for, this person has advice for how about as nice of you and your advice, but these guys have come along, because they didn't, they kind of went their own way.
Yep.
And I think they kind of need to, not that you don't want to take advice, but, filter it, because, it might be sound advice for somebody, but somebody else.
And the Khan family knows business, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
When you're worth $6.3 billion.
Yeah. So how
They
about
know what they're doing.
How about instead of for all my peers and everyone in the industry that's hey, I got some advice for you. How about just wish them well? and get the fuck out of the way. How about that?
That's a great way to possibly end the episode, I think.
And fun fact, Pro Wrestling Tees is already selling All Elite Wrestling merch.
Oh, yeah.
They're so fast.
The logo's awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Party on.
And, hey, I got a question for you before we go. How'd you sleep last night, Johnny?
I slept okay, but I don't think I have the right mattress.
You know?
Yeah.
Did you spend the night tossing and turning?
A little bit.
Really?
I played
That
basketball
sucks.
yesterday. I'm getting old, so that's why.
Sleep's important. The quality of your sleep affects the quality of your daily life. You know that, right, Johnny?
I do.
If you're struggling to get a good night's sleep, you've got to try a purple mattress. Purple mattresses will feel different than anything you've ever experienced because it uses a brand new material developed by an actual, guess what, rocket scientist. It's not like the memory foam you're used to. The purple mattress material feels very unique because it's both firm and soft at the same time. So it gives you comfort and support. Plus, it's breathable, so it sleeps cool. Like a lot of times I wake up in the middle of the night and like I'm overheated because, I don't know.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Can't
Like I like when I climb into bed, I like my sheets to be all cool. And, sometimes in the middle of the night it ends up not that way. But anyways. So yeah, he sleeps cool. Ends up giving you a zero gravity like feel, so it works for any sleeping position. Go with purple and get 100 night risk-free trial. If you're not fully satisfied, you can return your mattress for a full refund. It's backed by 10-year warranty, gets free shipping, free returns, free in-home setup and removal of your old mattress. You're going to love purple. Right now, our listeners will get a free purple pillow with the purchase of a mattress. That's on top of the great free gifts they're offering site-wide. Just text X-Pac, X-P-A-C, to 474747. That's X-Pac to 474747. The only way to get this free pillow is to text X-Pac to 474747, you guys.
And I can tell you, as a physical therapist, the right mattress and the right pillow especially, so important. You need a cervical lordosis when you sleep so you won't wake up stiff. Purple covers both of those for you.
Yeah.
So you got to get, what's that text again?
It's X-Pac to 474747.
Simple.
That's, oh shit, I already said that one part.
Yeah, we know. Trust me when we say purple mattresses are all elite.
Yeah. So, hey, everyone out there listening, if you give purple a try, please send us your proof of purchase.
Yeah.
And I'll send you something signed, especially if you go out there and get a purple. Because that's a hell of an investment. And it's a great investment in a good night's sleep. So I got to thank our friends at Purple Mattresses once again for helping sponsor the show. And message and data rates may apply.
There you go.
All right. So, Marcus,
Yes,
what
sir.
else we have here?
I think that's our show.
Yeah?
Unless there's anything else you wanted to cover.
I don't know. I think that's it. So,
Good show to start the new year, boss.
Yes.
well, I mean, so we're going to have a guest next week. Not sure who it's going to be. But I don't see how we could have had a guest on today and talk about,
All this stuff.
all this shit. So, and I would have had Cody or, Bucks or somebody come on, but those guys are in Japan. So and here's how great those guys are, and how great to me they are. Like if I would have hit them up, they would have probably tried to accommodate us, And I wasn't going to do that because I know how it is when people hit me up for that kind of thing, and I have a lot going on, and you don't want to disappoint. So I'm not even going to give them a chance to, because I just want to tell them congratulations and thank you for helping make the business a better place.
Absolutely.
All right, and Denise, before we go? Anything?
Yeah, don't forget to follow our show on Twitter at XPac12360. And then also don't forget to check us out on Facebook. Again, XPac12360. You guys know how to do that. Feel free to follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at _Denny Salcedo.
Yes, I'm at Jay Quasto, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. We film our 400th episode this Sunday, January 6th in Port Hueneme. Follow at CWF Hollywood. So excited for that. And yeah, there we go.
Yeah, congratulations, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Right?
Been
Wow.
Since day one. Day one. It's been 8 years.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, and also, a lot of you guys know Jimbo wasn't here this week, and we're going to have an update on that. We missed Jimbo this week. He's been an invaluable part of the show. I couldn't do it without him. And so we'll have an update. We'll see what's going on with Jimbo next week. As far as everyone out there is concerned, Happy New Year. I love you guys and ladies. And we'll see you right here next week. X-Pac 12360 from AfterBuzz TV Studios.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Waltman, Cena, Waltman, producers Mark B.